Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Mission Control, a podcast focusing on executive directors and nonprofit leaders and how they strive to make positive impacts in their community. I'm your host, Paul J. Schmidt, owner and creative video strategist for UnoDeuce Multimedia, and I'm here with a good friend, Joseph Yang, the new president and CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Lansing. Hi, Joseph. How you doing?
Hi, Paul. How's it going? Thank you so much for having me on. It's an honor.
Absolutely. I was like, when I was putting up the season, I was like, I didn't quite get your predecessor Carmen in before I got to this season. And I'm like, all right, this might be perfect for move Joseph in. But before we get into talking about your new role, we have to talk about what we normally start off with the show is with the mission. What is the mission of the Boys and Girls Club?
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So the Boys and Girls Club, our mission is to inspire and enable all young people, especially those who need us most, to realize their full potential as productive, responsible, and caring citizens. So that is a very big mission statement, all-encompassing mission statement. And so the Boys and Girls Club, we provide after-school programming for kids 7 through 17, everything from homework help, arts and crafts, STEM, physical fitness, social recreation. And we provided a well-rounded experience for the club member to come in and participate and really learn about different aspects and not just one specific aspect, whether that's sports or education, but really be a well-rounded person. And we do all that for $10 a year. Kids only pay $10 a year for that. And that membership fee has not changed. I've been here 20 years, going on 21 years, and it's been $10 a year. And the Lansing community has been very gracious and very supportive of everything we do. That's how we can keep it $10 a year for our club members.
Wow. It hasn't changed in the 20 years.
21 years and it was $10 prior to me being here. So I can for sure say 21 years, but it's probably been longer than that. So the purpose of it is, well, people say, well, just make it free. I'm like, well, we could, because I think our membership fees actually account for like 0.5% of our budget, but it's the principle behind it. It's that the kids and the parents have skin in the game. It's less than $1 a month to come to the club. It's not meant to be a barrier. It's meant to create ownership in that membership card, because each kid gets a card, has their name on it. Joseph Yang is a club member, and it's ownership of that card and that membership. And we do scholarship as well if there are kids or family members who have multiple children who might need some help. Or if we're picking up, we do partner with some local shelters here. And if there's a need, we do scholarship that in. It's never meant to be a barrier to our services, but it's meant to be more kind of skin in the game and buying into their membership. So
that's great. But I want to circle back on something that you just mentioned about being a well-rounded individual. That's what you strive for at the Boys and Girls Club. But let's apply that to you. Because looking back and researching you a little bit, you have some longevity in a lot of different areas. So I want to talk about some of these things. Like first of all, you have a background in technology.
I do. So one of my first loves is IT. Ever since I was 7-8 years old, I used to I grew up in a computer lab, and I used to actually help run the computer lab as a kid. And in those days, Windows, as you know it today, didn't exist. It was a DOS based. And so I learned those commands at a young age and knew how to turn on the computers, reset them, open applications using DOS code. And that's kind of where my love for technology started, by just being curious and really like those black and white screens from back in the 80s and 90s. So, but yeah, that's where it started. And so I attended Michigan State right there, go green, go white, and graduated with a telecommunications degree in 2003. And so basically focusing on networking and IT management. And so my first love is technology. I'm a early adopter of technology. I've always been, and so that is really one of my first loves and passions as a kid was technology. So
okay, so what's your favorite piece of retro tech?
Oh wow,
that you grew up with, working with, like, you know, not anything you haven't used, but something that you kind of used a lot, but it's not really available now?
So I mean, I grew up playing the Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. I
Mhm.
still have my Sega Genesis and it still works. Okay. And so, and I still have the original Sonic sample game that came with it. So it's one of my cherished items that I own since I don't even know how old it was when my parents bought that for me. But I still remember the box. I wish I could have kept the box that it came in because it was a cool
No.
box, had Sonic on there. I wish I'd have kept the box. I wasn't old enough to really appreciate that you keep the box and you put it back in the box type of thing. So,
Yeah,
um,
I know
but yeah,
that one really well.
yeah. So I never owned a Nintendo, but had family members who had a Nintendo.
Mhm.
So I experienced the whole blowing on the game, pushing it to the side, making sure it fits correctly, putting it under your shirt. And so I grew up doing all of that. And I have a son who's 11 right now, and he he'll go buy games, but you go buy the game, but you have to go download the rest of the game. And to me, when I first started learning that, I was like, when we grew up, like everything was on that game, the disc, the
Mm.
cartridge, or whatever it was that you got. And so, yeah, so like retro tech, like gaming. So the Sega Genesis, I own that. I still have it. That's probably my favorite gaming console. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that one really well. I had the Nintendo. I was thinking I was like eighth grade, freshman in high school, maybe when it was. Yeah, so and my cousins had the old Atari. I remember
Oh,
that.
yep, yep.
So yeah, going back. But okay, let's fast forward a little bit. What is your favorite piece of technology for today? What do you really like?
Well, it's literally attached to my hip is my phone, is my iPhone. So Um, I know there's two camps, Android, iPhone, and Apple, but I was
Hmm.
always an Android person because of my IT background, right? Because
Hmm.
I always like to customize everything and do everything. But um, my the rest of my family was Apple, and so I kind of got forced to go to the dark side, so to speak. And now I do have iPhone. I've had it for a few years now. But I mean, I still love the Android tech. I love what comes out. I'm just a techie. I just like
Mm.
new and innovative technology. It doesn't matter really who invents it. I just really like new and innovative technologies. And so, but my iPhone is attached. I mean, it's barely used as a phone now, right? Your phones, they're not actually a phone anymore. They are
No.
a web browsing device, a text messaging, emailing device. It's I might use it as a phone maybe 10 to 50% of the time that I actually use it in a day. But yeah, that's probably my favorite tech because I use it every single day. And um, I'm an old man was what my kids call me because I have a leather case on my hip and I keep my phone on my hip, and they make fun of me all the time. But I tell them I never break my phone, I never drop it, I never
Hmm.
lose it. I know where it's at
That's
all
right.
times and at all times. And so it's literally attached to my hip at all times. And so you can tell how old I am and that I'm old school IT because I have that on my hip. So yeah.
I would like to say that I'm the same.
Hmm.
And the only drawback to that recently was that you can't do anything when your wife puts your phone in her purse and goes to work. So
That's hard to do. Yeah.
could
Yeah.
not find it. Anyway,
Yeah.
um, so moving forward, the other thing that is interesting is that not only did you graduate with a telecommunications degree from MSU, not long after you went into law school.
Yeah.
And what was the drive to do? And you still practice law, correct?
Yeah, so I'm winding down that book of business,
Okay.
and so I practice primarily criminal law, and so kind of starting from the beginning. So I graduated from college in 2003. I worked for a company called Corecom, and it was in East Lansing. It was an over the phone tech support company helping
Hmm.
with dial up. So that's how long I've been.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
the whole type of thing, yeah. So I help people get connected with dial-up. So if anybody complains about their internet speeds, you should not complain to me because I actually used the dial-up. It would in the Napster days, it would take like 6 hours to download one song. So I don't want to hear any complaints about internet speeds with these kids nowadays. So yeah, so then after that, I worked there for about a year, and then I came to the Boys and Girls Club, originally as the education director. I had
Mhm.
worked with Sandra. I've known her since I was 8 years old. She's kind of been a
Oh.
mentor of mine. I call her my American mom because my ethnic background is Hmong, and so I had my mom who taught me kind of that, but then they didn't speak English. My parents didn't speak English, and so she was kind of my American mom growing up, like really teaching me about different things and what to do. And so she said, "Hey, we have this position available at the club. Are you interested in it? I know you do a lot of community-based work. Would you?" And so I said, "Sure." And so I interviewed, I got the job, and I was the education director for a year. And then our finance and ops person went to run a club down south, and I applied for the position. I got it. And so about 6 years into that, I had been, you know what, I really want to enhance my career, really learn new things. I'm a lifelong learner. I love to learn things. So I just it's just one of the things I do. I love to learn education wise. I love to learn about other people, cultures. I just like to learn. It's fascinating to me to learn things that I don't know. And so one of the people I looked up to, his name is Jack Davis. He's a real instrumental figure in Lansing, and he was an attorney at Loomis Law. And I said, you know what? He has a law degree, and he has such an impact on our community. I'm born and raised in Lansing. I wanted to make an impact on Lansing, and so I was like, you know what? Either I go get an MBA or I will get a law degree. And I was like, Mr. Davis is such an impactful person. I think he inspired me to go to law school instead of going to MBA program. And so that's why I went into law school. And so I did that while I was still working full time at the Boys and Girls Club. So Cooley has a nights and weekends program, and so I would go to work Monday through Friday. Then my whole Saturday, Sunday for 3.5 years was in law school. And so I graduated with my law degree in 2013. And so I've practiced part time, mostly criminal law. And like I said, I'm winding that down. But everything I do is kind of mission driven work. And so most of my clients are indigent clients. They're clients who wouldn't be able to afford representation by themselves. And so I do a lot of indigent work to help in the criminal arena. So, yeah.
That's incredible. That's a cool aspect. Like I said, I couldn't believe when you mentioned well-rounded right at the front end, because I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of facets. There's a lot of facets to what you do. So you mentioned that you started with Boys and Girls Club just over 20 years ago.
Mhm.
And you're talking about Sandra, but how did you find Boys and Girls Club?
So I grew up at a public housing complex called Leroy Fro, which is actually across the street from the Boys and Girls Club. And I was a member uh, of the Boys and Girls Club when they were still located at that facility. And so we moved into this current facility in 1990, but they moved from across the street to this facility. And so I was a former Boys and Girls Club member when it was at the Leroy Fro housing. And so I was familiar with the club. I went to school next door, Pleasant View Elementary School. So I knew about the club. I would visit every now and then. And once they moved, and I was a club member here as well. But then I've always worked with children. It's weird because I was 15, 16, a teen myself, but I was supervising kids on field trips. And so it was just weird. But I look back on it and I'm like, we would never let a 16-year-old supervise another 16-year-old in that capacity. But it's a different time. But yeah, so when Sandra called me back, I was like, yeah, definitely. I love the community. I literally come home every day when I go to work because my office looks at the housing complex I grew up in, the basketball courts I learned how to play on, and so it's not really coming to work. I guess I kind of come home every day. So yeah,
that's amazing. And so you've been there for a while. You talked a little bit about what you started out doing at first, but then you became the director of operations.
Correct.
So what did you, I mean, knowing your experience coming up as a youth into the program and then working for a little while, what were some of the things that you wanted to do when you got into this role of director of operations?
So as a director of ops, I wore a lot of hats. I was in charge of finance, HR, IT. I would drive the van, run the basketball camps, soccer camps. But when I was in that role, my job was to make sure that we were efficient in the spending of our money. That we were every donation that came in, every dollar, every penny was being used to effectively help us run the programs, making sure that we can keep the doors open and that I'm taking care of our budget on the expense side to make sure that every dollar is being spent and we're good stewards of the money that's being donated to us and entrusted in us to provide this service for all of our kids that come through the door every day. And so that was my goal and mission every day when I was director of finance and ops. And I felt that if I did my job correctly and I helped our president at the time, Carmen, shine, I was doing my job. My job is to help her shine. She was the face of the club for 23 years, and my job is to help her shine. If she shines, I shine. And so that's how I looked at that role. And we were a well-oiled machine. And so Carmen retired in July of 2024, and Sandra retired in June of 2025. And so we were kind of a three-headed monster there for 20 years together. And it was a kind of a well-oiled machine. But yeah, that's how I looked at my role as a director of finance and ops.
What were some of the things that, even as a well-rounded individual like yourself, and I think that's going to be the theme of this program, but there may have been some things that you were like, man, I don't know how to tackle that. Or what were some of the areas you were just like, man, I'm not so sure.
So yeah, coming into the role of the president CEO, you're the face of the club, right? You go to the breakfasts, you go to the dinners, you talk to donors, you talk to grantors, you are the face of the club. And I'm naturally kind of a reserved guy. I guess I wouldn't say I'm an introvert to the point where I can't socialize. It's just I'm not the person who walks in and is the life of the party right away. And so that's something that I've worked on and I continue to work on because if you look at kind of everything we talked about earlier, from IT to accounting to being an attorney, it's kind of behind the scenes work. It's not in front of the scenes type of work. If you think of it that way, you're supporting the person in front of the scenes, but now I'm up front. I'm the one who has the mic at the podium. The lights are shining at me, and I'm really not used to that. My whole career, my job has been to support and help somebody else shine, but now it's twofold. I have to be comfortable being out there and being at the podium, having the lights on me, and also allowing others to support me to help me shine too. I'm not used to that. I'm not used to being there or having others help me shine. So it's something that I've had to learn, and I continue to learn and try to improve myself in that manner. So yeah, that's kind of one thing that I think I've really have to work. I've worked on and will continue to work on. So yeah.
Well, let's now since you brought up the fact that you are now the current president and CEO. Was it like a natural progression? Did you have to go through like the whole rigmarole of the hiring situation,
when Carmen announced her retirement, the board did their due diligence. They posted it out, and they talked to me about it. And I said, look, at the end of the day, it's about the Boys and Girls Club. It's about the kids that we serve. It's about our mission. Put it out there. Do I want it? Yes, I do want the position. Don't get me wrong, I want it. But if you put it out there and there's somebody who is better positioned, better for the job, by all means, I want you to, because at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about the mission. It's about our kids that we serve. And if you find that diamond in the rough, by all means, I will not be offended by that. but I want you to do your due diligence. And as a board, I think they wanted to do that to make sure that they did their due diligence and did go out there and look for a pool of candidates. And so, yeah, I was part of the whole hiring process. There were candidates. I believe there was about 5 of us. And I was one of the candidates. And so I actually appreciated that because it allowed me. I mean, I hadn't done my resume in like 20 years, so it was there was no need to. So it was quite a learning experience too, because usually I'm on the other side, right? In the HR position, I'm hiring people, looking at resumes, critiquing their resumes. But now somebody's gonna be critiquing mine. I need to present mine to them. Um, and but yeah, they went through the whole hiring process, and I'm glad that I rose to the top and I was chosen, and I can continue the work that I do, and in a different aspect here though, but really support our mission every day. So
What's interesting to me is you've been there for so long and you're about to, I don't want to say surpass, that's not the right term, but like you're going to be there when Carmen and Sandra, 2 folks that have been there almost probably either the entire time you've been there or at least the majority of the time.
They were here before I was here. Yep.
So how does that feel that you know that they're going to be moving on, but you're going to be here? Or you're going to still be there?
Yeah, I mean it's a great feeling. They've been such an integral part of my professional and personal growth as well for the last 20 years. I've worked with them for the last 20 years. I mean, Sandra, my whole life, but with Carmen, and she's helped me grow professionally and personally. Without her leadership, I don't think I would have. She pushed me. She said, "Hey, if you want to go to law school, go to law school. Hey, go to these meetings. Hey, do this. Be part of this committee." And she really pushed me and allowed me to grow professionally and become the professional that I am today at such a young age. Right, I started as a director of finance at 22 years old, and they had worries. Can this 22-year-old sit next to Jack Davis and presidents of banks, and can he hold his own? Will he know his stuff? And those were valid concerns, right? Not coming from a long history of nonprofit work. And so, but one thing I know is that I work hard and I try to make sure that I'm as prepared as possible. And if I'm not afraid to say I don't know the answer to that. Let me get back to you. And I'm not afraid to say if I don't know something, because I think that shows that you're mature. You know where your strengths and your weaknesses are, and you're able to kind of educate yourself and learn. Like I told you earlier, being a lifelong learner, like where are my gaps? How can I get better and really work on those? So yeah, but it's continuing their legacy too. They were here 20 years. They've built something. We built something together for 20 years. Though they've retired and left, I can continue that legacy. And maybe when I retire, I'll have somebody within our team that can kind of continue that legacy and make sure that these doors stay open into perpetuity. And we continue our mission day in and day out. But we do have some other longevity as well. Our unit director, who's in charge of all of our programming, James McAbee, he's been at the club for 34 years. He's actually the one who hired me 20 years ago. And so it's kind of a full circle moment. And he and I have built a great relationship and a friendship over the 20 years, him being my supervisor, then me being the ops role, which is kind of peer level. And then now I'm the executive director, the CEO. But it's a great relationship, and the club is lucky to have him here so long. So yeah.
So knowing that the journey with Carmen and Sandra has a due date, what are your plans, or like what are some of the things that you want to accomplish in your role now?
So we've like I said, their legacy, we've built a legacy that the Boys and Girls Club is on a great foundation now. And so what we need to do is take the foundation that we're on and the facility that we have and really expand our services. So one of my goals is to expand our services and provide services to more kids within the Lansing area. And so we want to really look at ways we can expand services and go to the kids where they're at and provide those services. So right now we do have vans where we pick up kids and we bring them to our facility, but there's limitations to that, right? Transportation, time, all that. But if we can identify places such as public housing complexes that already have children there, that are school-age children, that we can then bring our services to Monday through Friday, and really provide that resource for the families and the parents and the kids there. That's one of my goals, and we're looking at different avenues of doing that, whether that's in housing complexes, whether that's partnering with other schools. So we're really looking to expand our services, and provide services for more kids. Here at our facility, we average about 185 kids a day here at our facility here, and that's 185 kids getting help with their homework, being able to run in the gym, do arts and crafts projects, learn about sportsmanship. Um, I mean, kids are different now. 20 years ago, when I first started, you throw a ball in the gym and they're fine. They're different now. You throw a ball in the gym, half the kids don't even want to sweat anymore. They're like, I don't want to sweat. I'd rather be on my phone. And so we have to meet the kids where they are, really
Mm.
to provide those services that we traditionally have, the sports and rec, but then look at innovative services, such as we've created an esports corner. And so we have 4 computers that are capable of running not all, but most games, esports games, and really meeting the kids where they are, meeting their needs, and so, but still providing them different avenues. And like I said earlier, being a well-rounded person, you can go from being on the esports team to being on the real basketball team, and so it's creating this well-rounded child, so that they can be a productive citizen, once they go out in the real world.
I guess your IT background really came in handy when you had to like pivot to where the kids' interests would be.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
was everybody like, "Oh my gosh, Joseph has been here the whole time, and so we can do this transition"? Is that what the whole feeling was?
No, so I mean, what I've learned is that I have to trust and allow my team to really help me. I can't do everything.
Mhm.
Though I want to do everything, there's not enough of me, not enough hours in a day, days in a week, weeks in a year type of thing. And so I might have an idea, like if we have somebody in our teen zone. His name is John. He goes to Michigan State University, and he's really passionate about esports. He's actually on a team out there for Rocket League, and so I had the idea of the esports corner, but I'm not back there enough, and I can't be back there enough to actually run the program. And so I leaned on him as a staff member. I found out that he's on the esports team, and I said, hey, if I do this, if I find the funds to do this, will you help me run it? And if you need resources and help, I'll help you. I want you to spearhead it for me. And so he said, yeah, I'll do that. And so he's the person spearheading our esports program. He's in the teen zone. He's spearheading that, and I'm supporting him by making sure we have the resources to do it. We have the right specs and computers, because I have enough. I have enough to know where I'm going. I just might not know how to get there, and so that's where I rely on my team to say, "Hey, Joseph, this is what you want to see. We have to do X, Y, and Z to get to where you want to go." And I'm learning to do that, and I'm learning to um, uh, divide and conquer instead of trying to do everything myself now. So yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, that's huge for you to recognize that, but
Mhm.
also recognize the strengths in your team
Yep.
and
Mhm.
where they can bring that in. Now, I know that we've talked a lot about you being able to have a lot of skills in different areas, and and you can take up your entire day, all your hours, all your weeks with that.
Mhm.
However, you can't physically and mentally keep doing that. So what do you do when you leave the office? I mean, what do you do to decompress and or just trying to get your mind off of the day-to-day boys and girls club stuff? Just to, what do you do?
So family is very important to me. That's how I decompress on the weekends. Sometimes my weekends are busier than my weekdays because of family events and stuff. But I really can't get away from it, honestly, because I coach my younger son's basketball and soccer teams, and we go straight from one season to the next. But that actually helps me decompress, because I'm not, though it's youth, it's not Boys and Girls Club, if that makes sense. It's still mission driven. I'm helping kids. I don't coach at a high level, but I coach more rec, and it's helping kids develop and become a better person, right? Really understand. Can you learn a new skill? Can you learn how to dribble? Can you learn how to pass the ball? Can you learn a defensive scheme? And I think those are all kind of skills, learning skills, life skills that they can learn, how to be a team player, how to communicate. Like these are all things that if they go into the business world, most people who play team sports, they can communicate better when they're in the business world because they've done it their whole lives in some way, shape, or form. And so I decompress by doing more youth activities and mission driven work. I don't know if that's good, healthy, or not healthy, but other than that, I do have other hobbies. I mean, I garden in the summer. I've always gardened my whole life because my parents came here in the 1980s, and we didn't have the ethnic markets that we have now, where you can go get this type of food or that type of food. And so my parents grew all their ethnic food, and I grew up learning how to do that. And so I still grow our ethnic food, stuff that's hard to find at grocery stores or a little bit more expensive because of the type of food it is. So different beans and greens and stuff like that. And so that helps me decompress. And I mean, a whole day can go by when you're in that garden. So yeah.
That's incredible. Well, we've come to the end of our conversation, Joseph. But if people want to know more about you and more about the Boys and Girls Club, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, thank you. So you can call us at the Boys and Girls Club, 517-394-0455. Visit our website, bgclansing.org, or you're more than welcome to email me directly. I do check my emails every morning, jyang@bgclansing.org.
Awesome. Well, thank you once again for being on the program. I could have talked to you for another hour and a half. This is amazing. This went by really fast.
It did.
So, but thanks for coming on.
All right. Thank you, Paul.
All right. And thank you all again for taking some time to listen to the program. Don't miss the next episode coming out in a couple weeks. And if there's someone you know of and you want to hear about their journey, please email us at missioncontrol@UnoDeuce.com. And if this is your first time here, please subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcasting platform and leave us a review. Thank you again, and see you next time in the Control Center.